Edmonton Oilers 4, LA Kings 2. The Oilers force a game 7. Also, before we get into the breakdown, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Nation Network. Helps us out a lot. Now, Zach, let's get into the video. Let's break down game 6.
Yeah, Waz, what a game from the Oilers. I mean, right from the get-go, you could tell that they were pretty fired up for the game, and they were bringing the energy right off the bat. And I mean, Connor McDavid with the wraparound goal early on in the first period, it really set the tempo for what the game was for the Oilers. They knew they needed to come out and win a game in LA, and man, they did it in a pretty dominant fashion, all things considering. It got a little bit shaky there going 2-2. I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit
Yes.
stressed out. I may have popped a few extra grays in my hair, maybe one or two in my beard as well. But you know what? At the end of the day, Connor McDavid took that game over in the third period. I mean, when you talk about dominant performances and maybe career-defining moments, that's one for Connor McDavid right there. It was quite an incredible game to say the least.
Yeah, you make a good point there. And that was such a nervous game. I mean, the Oilers, they had the 2-0 lead for a bit there, and then LA climbed their way back and it was kind of deflating. There's so many nerves. The Nation crew, we were at Barricade, and you can just feel the tension. I could barely move. Even after just if they had a good scoring chance, I wouldn't move because I just wanted to see a goal. Right.
No
So
kidding. No
I was
kidding.
just on the edge of my seat. So it was really good to see us pull off the win. The vibes are immaculate at Barricade. One thing I want to mention with Connor McDavid is that, in the past, people would kind of refer to him as Mick regular season. And as you mentioned, he's having some dominant performances right now.
Unbelievable. He's got 12 points through 6 games right now. Through the first 4 games of the playoffs, he looked sort of pedestrian in a sense. Yeah, it was still McDavid. He had 6 points through 4 games, and all was good and well. But the way he's elevated his game in games 5 and 6, the two most important games of the series, it's absolutely incredible. I got chills thinking about it because like I said, it's really sort of one of those playoffs right now for him where it could be a career-defining thing. We talk about the clutch gene. And man, he's starting to show that he really does have that. The McRegular season comments aside from people who clearly don't watch Connor McDavid play, I think he's shutting up a lot of haters right now.
Oh, definitely. One person we need to touch on, I think, is Leon Draisaitl. He's been looking a bit injured, hurt here and there. Just give us what's going on with Leon. Do you know?
Well, he's definitely banged up. We saw in the second period, he got hauled down by Mikey Anderson from behind. Quite a dirty play that didn't go called. He clearly hurt his right leg some way, somehow, whether it's an ankle, whether it's a knee. But he really didn't miss many shifts. It was quite incredible to see him come back out and sort of will himself through the rest of that game. And he helped, win that game as well. I know Sportsnet Mark Spector mentioned after the game that Draisaitl might have been dealing with some back issues as well. Draisaitl has not been on his A game in these playoffs. You can tell that he's been laboring. You can tell that he just doesn't have that extra jump in his step that he's had in the regular season. So, for him, it's going to be just important to try and do whatever he can to try and keep the Oilers in the game and keep the team positive while he's on the ice.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how the Oilers would be with a fully healthy Leon Draisaitl. Like when I'm watching him, he's still be able to hold off players very well with the strength. So, but
well, and that's his strength too as a player, right? He's such a big player. He doesn't need to be a fast skater. When he gets the puck on his stick, good luck getting it off of him, right? He uses that big caboose of his to block players out really well. And he's still able to be a dominant player, even though he's hobbling around on, one leg and a potential back injury as well. So it's still wild to see how well he's doing, all things considered.
There's been a little bit of criticisms for Mike Smith recently. I've been seeing online. Can you really fault the guy for any of the goals he's led in the last 2 games?
I mean, yeah, you probably can. It's a difficult scenario because you don't want to harp on a guy like Schmidt too much. And I'm one of those guys that is on him a lot because at the end of the day, he has some pretty blatant blunders. And I think that there's been some goals in the last few games that, he probably needed to make saves on. You get shut out 4-0, and that's not a good thing whatsoever. At the end of the day, he has, however, made some massive saves at some big times to keep the Oilers in the game. There's no chance they're going to Mikko Koskinen, so it's Schmidt or bust at this point. And you know what? If he can just try and keep the Oilers in as many games as possible, you know, that's really all you can ask from him at this point in time.
So now looking to game 7, what do the Oilers need to do? Obviously, we've said early starts. Is it just more of the same from game 6? What needs to happen?
Yeah, a lot of the same from game 6, to be honest, was they need to come out strong in that first period. They need to utilize the home ice advantage that they're going to have here at Rogers Place. And not let the emotions get to them. That's something we've seen be a bit of an issue here in the last couple of games. You know, I think back to game 5 and Evander Kane and Zach Kassian with some dumb penalties. Mike Smith yesterday with the totally horrendous spearing penalty on Andreas Athanasiou. That's some brainless stuff there from some guys that the Oilers really need. And hey, we're not even talking about Darnell Nurse headbutting Philip Deneau either. The guy's got to take a really big deep breath here. It's playoff hockey. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be feisty. But at the end of the day, you know, game 7 is game 7, and they got to lay it all on the line. And what is the biggest game for any of these players' careers?
No, yeah, you make a great point. Game 7, there's nothing bigger than that. I know it's only round 1, and you mentioned the penalties, and yeah, the Oilers have not been disciplined throughout the series, but the officials have been very confusing. There was that one play, I think second period, McDavid just gets hit like in the middle of the ice. It was a knee. Like, what was that?
Yeah, second or third period. I can't remember. Kaliev took a good run at him through the neutral zone that went uncalled. Definitely one of those moments where, you know, you got to call that penalty. That's a blatant interference against one of the game's biggest stars. It being McDavid notwithstanding, that's a penalty for anybody. And then the Mikey Anderson thing as well. You know, the Kings are not angels, and the referees acted last night like they were angels. And I think the Oilers only ended up with a 1 power play. Definitely something to look at there when it comes to, you know, the way some of these games have been. And it's hard to say that anything's gone in the Oilers' favor recently.
Well, yeah, and it's like we don't want to complain too much about the officiating, but just wanted to be a bit more consistent, right? Like there were some calls that were warranted, like the Mike Smith spearing or whatever the hell that was. But yeah, other than that, I'm just looking forward to game 7. Something I looked into is that the Oilers have not won a game 7 since the 97-98 season, I'm pretty sure. Since then, they've lost game 7 against Anaheim, Carolina, and then way before whenever, right? So it's
and not only that, it's the first time they've actually played a game 7 on home ice since 1990. So it's 32 years in the making here that we've seen any you know, massive games on home ice. So it's a huge game for the team, for the franchise, and for this city.
Any final thoughts? Any final words before we wrap this up?
You know what? I gotta feel the Oilers come out on top. In game 7 was. I really do. This is one of those games where I think McDavid's going to take over again from the get-go, and we got to see some of the depth guys come up big. You know, I really like the way Woodcroft sort of utilized the 11 and 7 group last night. You know, I wonder if even if the Oilers go back to a 12 and 6, we see more of that line shuffling on a consistent basis, trying to get more McDavid, more DRAISAITL, more Kane out there. It's going to be really interesting to see because I don't think the Kings were able to handle it. So, you know, I'm going to take a bit of a shot here, and I'm going to say the Oilers come out on top of the 5-2 victory in Game 7.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. And I just want to, before we wrap this up, I do want to give some credit to the LA Kings because some people on the internet are calling them a glorified AHL team. Yet they've got players like Philip Deneau, Anze Kopitar, Jonathan Quick, Kempe. Like, these are great players. This is not like an AHL team by any means.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got a good team. They got a deep team. There's a reason they had so much success in the regular season, right? You know, people are always going to say stuff like that, and especially when it comes to speaking up against the Edmonton Oilers, so to speak. So, yeah, this Kings squad is a good team. The Oilers they really can't take them lightly tomorrow night, Oz. What about you? What do you think? You got any big predictions?
Oh, I don't know. I hate doing these kind of predictions, man. It's gonna be a close game. I think LA is not going to make it easy on us, but I'll go just like this game 4-2 Edmonton, just like game 6.
Nice.
Yeah. With that, we're going to wrap things up here. Thanks for tuning in into the next day review with Zach and I. Don't forget to head to OilersNation.com for more in-depth analysis. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more, like, and share your thoughts with us. And we'll see you after game 7.